Now on LWT, this is how it was today at the Monaco Grand Prix.
There's been a race around the streets of Monte Carlo for over 70 years, and now Formula One returns for a 21st century sporting challenge of skill and bravery. It can only be the Monaco Grand Prix. Hello there, welcome to the highlights of this afternoon's race. Michael Schumacher comes here leading his nearest challenger, the world champion Mika Häkkinen, by 18 points, and with every reason to feel very confident. The German is chasing his 5th Monte Carlo victory. That would equal Graham Hill's total and put him just one behind Ayrton Senna. But in qualifying yesterday, we discovered a new star of the streets.
Jordan's Jarno Trulli goes some way to putting his team's flagging fortunes back on track with a mega-quick lap that puts him second. The front row start is best in F1. David Coulthard's been on strong form all weekend. Now fully fit after his plane crash, he leads the McLaren charge, taking top spot earlier on.
Nice driving there from Coulthard over the line. Surely this will take provisional pole.
But Michael Schumacher's the modern-day king of the streets. After trading quickest laps with Coulthard and a small brush with the barrier, the Ferrari #1 overtakes Trulli to grab pole by over a quarter of a second. Meantime, it's Monte Carlo or bust for championship challenger Mika Häkkinen, as lap after lap is spoiled by traffic or crashes. The Finn's luck running out fast.
Oh no, this is Häkkinen. This is Häkkinen's lap going to be spoiled again.
With 5 minutes to go, he's still in the pits and just 14th on the grid. But he keeps his cool and manages to salvage 5th place. And so Michael Schumacher's 25th career pole with Trulli alongside. Coulthard and Jordan's Frentzen on row 2, followed by Häkkinen and Barrichello 5th and 6th. Alesi delighted with 7th, with Fisichella and Ralf Schumacher just behind. What a contrast for Jaguar. Irvine's worst of the season, but Herbert's best. The Big Cats 10th and 11th. Wirtz 12th, followed by Salo. Button in 14th, ahead of the Arrows of Verstappen and De La Rosa. Row 9, Villeneuve and Heidfeld ahead of the Brazilians Diniz and Zonta, with the Minardis of Genet and Mazzacani on the back row. To the Monaco Grand Prix then, with your commentators Martin Brundle and Murray Walker.
Go, go, go! Schumacher gets away. Trulli slots in front of David Coulthard, and the grid order is maintained with Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 4th position. But Mika Häkkinen is still in 5th position, so there is no change as they climb up to the Hotel de Paris, round Massenet, the left-hander, through Casino Square.
Yes, everybody got away very poorly, and I'm not surprised. The red light was on for so long there. The red light seemed to be forever going out, and I'm sure all the drivers were champing at the bit there. It's unusual. Normally it's just over 3 seconds and it's away. And there's Häkkinen making a good move on Frentzen. Red flag.
Well,
I think the computer is out, Murray. I think that's probably why it's a red flag.
Well,
there's no data come up. They've gone...
Oh, look at that. Well, this is the worst possible thing that could happen at Monaco. Let's have a look and see what it's. The 2 arrows, you see. That's Jos Verstappen in the orange arrows, who was nerfed from the inside there.
By Button, I think it was Jenson Button gave him a little tap on the back wheel there as they went into Grand Hairpin there.
Well, it's transpired that a computer problem in the timing system caused the red flag to be waved. The drivers involved in the collision at the hairpin had a race of their own to get to the pits. The crash put De La Rosa's Arrows out of the race and left 4 drivers, Jenson Button in the Williams, Marc Genet in the Minardi, Nick Heidfeld in the Prost and Alexander Wirtz in the Benetton, in the pit lane for the restart.
1 light and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and... Come on, out! Go! Schumacher good again. Trulli good again. And Frentzen slots in front of Häkkinen, so the grid positions have been maintained. Are they going to get round Sandermont? Yes, I think they are. Schumacher leads. Trulli, Coulthard, Frentzen, Mika Häkkinen into Massenet, into the Casino Square. Now they're coming up to the point where we had problems at the station hairpin. They turn into the Mirabeau, drop down towards the station hairpin, and this is it.
Yes, Ralf Schumacher, the main mover there. Ralf Schumacher getting a good start for the second time, and I think he has catapulted past John Alesi. Barrichello there behind Alesi, so Barrichello a poor start.
Yeah, Barrichello only qualified 6th on the grid. He's been passed by the mercurial Jean Alesi in the Prost. Up into 6th position, a potential points position, but we've still got 77 laps and a bit to go as they come down to the chicane for the first time with Michael Schumacher in the lead. Jarno Trulli is still there. David Coulthard treading on his gearbox, and they stream through. Absolutely critical this into the swimming pool section. They approach it at some 100 miles an hour. And this is the Rascasse, and look at the gap already between Schumacher and Trulli.
Yes, critical there for Michael Schumacher. He needed Jarno Trulli to get away in front of Coulthard. That's going to give Schumacher such a breathing space, unless Coulthard can do something about Trulli in these early laps. Otherwise, you just settle into a rhythm. But you've got to take such a risk to get past him. He needs the championship points, but he also needs to try and win this motor race. And he's got to keep some pressure on Michael Schumacher if he can. And look at the lead Schumacher's got.
Yeah, the worry man is Mika Häkkinen. Worry because he's worried. He's in 5th position. He did not make up any places at the start. Look, he's still locked in behind Heinz-Harald Frentzen as Schumacher leads and is increasing the gap between himself and Jarno Trulli. And Mika Häkkinen is looking all the time as he comes down to the station hairpin for a way round Heinz-Harald Frentzen as...
And if he does that too many times, he'll lose his nose cone, Murray, and then he'll be half a minute behind when he stops to have that change, or worse still, lose a front wishbone. So Häkkinen there having a bit of a wild stab up the inside of Frentzen having nothing of it into the hairpin there, and it's so difficult. You've got to be so focused on your piece of road that staring in your mirrors through there, watching out for people trying to overtake you, is just not on the agenda.
And Ralf Schumacher is in 6th position. Jenson Button, who started in the pit lane, is in 19th position. And there is Eddie Irvine in the Jaguar, who has been passed by his teammate Johnny Herbert. Johnny Herbert was 11th on the grid behind Irvine. He's now 10th in the race ahead of Eddie Irvine. So, there is Trulli, there is Coulthard, and Michael Schumacher is disappearing from sight as they go through. But it's very, very close behind them. Michael Schumacher, as Häkkinen is looking again, and Frentzen coming up towards Sandermont. But the German Heinz-Harald Frentzen and the Jordan Mugen, which is going so well here, knows this course very well indeed. He lives in Monaco, as does Mika Häkkinen, and he knows that if he places his car correctly, it's going to be virtually impossible for the Finn to get by. And now Mika Häkkinen is 5 seconds behind Schumacher.
Yes, possibly Häkkinen's car's a little bit lighter to try and get him through the traffic early on. But one thing's for sure, he's certainly got a faster car and he can't do anything with it at the moment. I was wrong about Denitz not starting. He's in 14th place. But Button and Wirtz did start from the pit lane, then 18th and 19th, as you've already said, Mary. And De La Rosa is the only one actually not in the race. So 21 runners at the moment.
Through the tunnel, into the chicane, there is Ralf Schumacher. And you can see the gap between himself and Mika Häkkinen, and it's not very much. As Jean Alesi follows Schumacher in 7th position, ahead of Rubens Barrichello, who has lost 2 places. Very disappointing for the Ferrari driver, because he qualified in 6th place. He was fastest in this morning's warm-up, declared himself happy with the handling and the balance of the Ferrari, but never, in spite of that, he has lost 2 places in this race. And losing them is not too difficult. Getting them back is mighty difficult.
Yes, just to remind you why Häkkinen's down there. He had a poor first run in qualifying, and then traffic really for the next 2, and a fairly mediocre last effort, still struggling a little bit with traffic. So Häkkinen lucky in a way to qualify 5th, but it's compromised his afternoon. And look, Michael Schumacher, as we thought, scampering away, a well over 3.5 second lead already.
And remember, Michael Schumacher's already won 4 of the 6 races this year, with the declared objective of taking Ferrari back to the top in terms of winning the Drivers' Championship, which they have not done since Jody Scheckter did so for them in 1979. And now you can see that Michael Schumacher is carving his way through the field. Just the one retirement so far, Pedro de la Rosa in the Arrows, who actually did not get away.
You're on board with David Coulthard. You're running third in this Grand Prix this afternoon. And as you can see, all he's got is a face full of Jordan rear wing. And what would be so easy for Coulthard to do is on a corner like he's just gone round, just to clump the barrier, just turn in a fraction too early while you're slightly unsighted, and it'll just spin you around and pendulum around, and it's so easy to do when you're focused on the car ahead of you.
And this is a perfect indication of the fact that it is of paramount importance to qualify well at Monaco. If you qualify well and get a good start, you get the situation that we've got now, because the pole position man is leading. The man who was second on the grid is second. The man who was third on the grid is third. The man who was fourth on the grid, and it's him, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, is fourth, and Mika Häkkinen is fifth, as we ride with David Coulthard chasing Jarno Trulli into the Portier, where Senna went off in 1988, into the tunnel and through the tunnel, and they go through this tunnel and exit in at over 160, building up to 180 miles an hour, as Jos Verstappen exits the tunnel and goes across the chicane.
Yes, I was just about to say, amazingly, from the middle of the pack, Jos Verstappen's just done the fastest time of anybody in the race through the midsection. Now I know why. He basically leapt across the chicane.
Now we're looking at the McLaren chasing the Jordan. Michael Schumacher then 17 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli, who's got David Coulthard right behind him. There he is, David Coulthard. Frentzen is now catching David Coulthard. There is the Jordan, and behind him is Mika Häkkinen. So things are closing up nicely, and Mika Häkkinen is putting on a tremendous charge in 5th position. He's really pressuring Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Here he is, there is Frentzen now. There is Mika Häkkinen. They're going round the Massenet. So Jordan leads McLaren, Ferrari leads the race, and Ralf Schumacher is 6th. And into the pits comes the high wing Williams of Jenson Button. And yeah, this is Button going out of the race. And that's a comparatively new experience for Jenson Button too. He failed to finish in Australia, and he failed to finish in Imola. And he's going to fail to finish from his first Monaco Grand Prix. And very soon we're going to... Oh, and out goes Alexander Wurz. Well, yet when things start to go wrong for you, they go wrong all the time. And we're going to get another indication here of how good the Monaco marshals are. They are absolutely terrific. Here is a replay of Alexander Wurz at Saint-Devote, losing control of the Benetton, going nose first into the barrier and feet first out of the race. Remember that in the last Grand Prix we had the European Grand Prix at the Nürburgring. Mika Häkkinen made that absolutely incredible start from 3rd position and went straight between his teammate David Coulthard in pole position and Michael Schumacher, who was 2nd on the grid, to take the lead, although Michael Schumacher won the race. Well, here Mika Häkkinen started well down the field by his standards, because he was only 5th on the grid. He wasn't able to do anything about it at the start, and 5th is where he still is. An increasing margin behind Michael Schumacher, now nearly 25 seconds, with Schumacher continuing to lap at least half a second faster. He's now 21 seconds ahead of Jarno Trulli, who is going well, and he needs to go well because David Coulthard is still right behind him. Häkkinen is still pressuring Frentzen. Ralf Schumacher is still hanging on there. And we're going to be waiting and waiting to see when they first come in for pit stops. This race is going to depend in the end analysis on how good the pit crews are. I have no doubt about that at all. With 17 of the 22 starters left, that is Ralf Schumacher. And here is are Frentzen, Hakkinen, Schumacher, Alesi, Barrichello in 8th position, Fisichella in 9th position. Look back, you just missed Jenny Irvine, who is still in 10th position. I say still, somehow or other, unseen by us, he's got ahead of Johnny Herbert. Oh, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen is looking a bit ragged there, or was, as he came round Saint Devote, because Mika Hakkinen is pushing extremely hard.
Yeah, Frentzen there, he must be starting to lose the rear tyres. Maybe they're going over pressure a little bit, or certainly can be going off. The rubber compound breaking down a bit, but he's now surely struggling as Johnny Herbert is in for what must be an unscheduled stop. The mechanics are not ready, and he's not on his mark, so I would imagine Johnny's got some other kind of problem than needing a new set of tyres.
I thought, and I'm going to be very careful what I say, I thought I saw a puff of smoke from the back of Herbert's car when we were looking at it earlier on, which might have been a leaking oil pipe or something more serious. But they seem to be changing the wheels and getting him out again, but anyway, he slipped right back to the rear of the field.
The Prost going down the escape route. Is that Alesi or is that Heidfeld?
No, I think it's Alesi, in which case he's there was some sort of kerfuffle between Alesi, Barrichello and Fisichella there, although Alesi was a second or so ahead of the Ferrari. But it looks to me, yes, Rubens Barrichello is ahead of Jean Alesi. He's up into 7th position. He's got 4 seconds between himself and Ralf Schumacher. And we'll soon see whether the Ferrari can make up that ground. Making up is one thing, getting past is quite another. And Mika Hakkinen is again pushing.
That's a Sauber with a bent left rear. That's obviously it's Diniz out of the race, and that's a tricky position to recover that car from. He's obviously hit the Saint Devote barrier. That's effectively on the racing line. I don't think there's a crane that'll reach that far, is there, Murray? He's putting a strap.
No, I don't. I was just going to say the same thing, Martin.
He's putting a strap through the rollover hoop, look. So I just wonder if they may, if the crane will reach that far, it's easy to recover that car. But I would have thought that's stretching a little bit. You've seen the crane in action down at Saint Devote many times, and the double wave yellows there, meaning marshals on track.
I'm wondering whether they're going to bring the safety car out, because that's a very dangerous place. I don't think there's a crane that'll reach it. There is a crane at Saint Devote, and you can see how dangerous it is for the marshals, because they come round Saint Devote at about 70 miles an hour.
That's a slow McLaren there, Murray. I don't know, I think it's Hakkinen. It's a slow McLaren, lost a lot of speed as he's cruising through. Yes, look, Barrichello now up behind him. So Hakkinen limping, no sign of any smoke or anything like that, but clearly Hakkinen, he'll have to pull right now. He'll have to let them through in the tunnel. It's so dangerous to hold your line. He doesn't do that. And Fisichella is going to have a face full of McLaren, but Mika staying on the inside there, and clearly some kind of major problem. But Mika Hakkinen, who was running in 5th position.
Well, Mika Hakkinen won this race in '98, and he was second last year, but I can remember a lot of very unhappy Monacos for him, and it looks as though this is going to be another one. But so he's slipping down through the field. He was in 5th position. He's been passed by Ralf.
Coulthard's got a seriously good run. Oh, David, mind you don't lose your front wing and don't hit the barrier. He had to get on the brakes for a second time there, did Coulthard. That's cost him dearly. He got so close to the back of Fisichella. I assume Fisichella got out of shape in the last corner. This is Coulthard so nearly losing his wing. There was a shunt there in a Renault Clio race or something earlier on. That's what all the cement dust is down there. It's very slippery.
Sorry to interrupt you, Martin. Mika Hakkinen in the pits. You saw the tyres and wheels being replaced, but they always do that. And I'm sure he didn't come in for that reason. And there's a Jordan into slowing as well. Now, which one is it? Is it Jarno Trulli or is it Heinz-Harald Frentzen?
Trulli, it's Trulli.
It's Jarno Trulli. So this race is now on lap 37, really coming alight. Michael Schumacher out on his own, but it looks as though with Mika Hakkinen possibly out of the race, Ron Dennis in the earphones on the left is looking very concerned as he leans over the car. And there is Jarno Trulli running wide, and you see Ralf Schumacher in the Williams passing him. So Frenson's passed him, David Coulthard's passed him. It must mean that David Coulthard in the McLaren is up into second place, that Frenson is up into third place, that Ralf Schumacher is up into fourth position, that Rubens Barrichello is not just in the points, but he's in fifth position, and that Fisichella is in sixth place.
Hakkinen is leaving the pits, so whatever they were fiddling around with under the cover of the car, in the footwell, they've managed to, well, maybe. Oh, and that's Schumacher in the barrier. That was Schumacher. I thought I could hear something funny from Hakkinen's car. It was Ralf Schumacher clattering the barrier, and yet again, a wheel just relatively easily falling off the car. Here he comes, look, he's been slightly unsighted really by Mika coming out of the pit lane. Not Mika's fault at all, just gone too deep into Sandivot, and as soon as you get up in the grey there, you're going straight into the tyre barrier. So now you're looking at second place man Coulthard and third place man Heinz-Harald Frentzen. Now we'll see what kind of pace Coulthard has got.
In comes Jarno Trulli. We saw him touring, and the race which looked so good for Jordan is suddenly looking not good at all. That is Ralf Schumacher in the background, just yards away from where he lives, removing his helmet as Jarno Trulli's Jordan is wheeled away. And Ralf Schumacher, whose face we saw contorted with pain when he took his helmet off, seems to have hurt his leg. He was limping as he went over the wall there, and when he subsequently took his helmet off, I could see that he was grimacing in pain.
Yes, what that's going to be, he's calling the marshals over. Look, so I've got a problem here. What's that going to be is a piece of wishbones come into the monocoque, burst through the monocoque as the car hit the wall, and has pierced the at least pierced the skin on his leg. Obviously, he hasn't broken his bone, otherwise he wouldn't be leaping over the barrier.
And that despondent face you saw was of the most experienced Grand Prix driver currently of them all, Jean Alesi, who loves Monaco, who adores the challenges that it gives a driver and responds to them so well. Now, the prophecy that we were making about it being a long time before anybody in this race amongst the leaders came in for a fuel stop has proved to be correct, because none of the first 10 have yet been in as the Ferrari surges past the arrows and down towards the hairpin. Michael Schumacher's on his 43rd lap now and has yet to come in. He came in on lap 42 last year, actually, but he's obviously staying out longer. He's 33 seconds ahead of Coulthard, a superb cushion. He's very comfortable indeed, provided he can keep running, even though Coulthard is marginally quicker than he is at the moment. That's Jos Verstappen, who's in 11th place. Heinz-Harald Frentzen is third, but cannot cope with the now much faster David Coulthard, who has been released to go as quickly as he can. Rubens Barrichello, fourth position in the Ferrari, is catching Frentzen at the rate of about half a second a lap. Fifth is Fisichella, sixth is Eddie Irvine still, and he's catching Fisichella's Benetton. Seventh is Mika Salo, and just to complete the remaining runners, Villeneuve is 8th, Zonta is 9th, Heidfeld is 10th, Mika Hakkinen is 11th and has been lapped. Jos Verstappen is 12th, Johnny Herbert is in 13th position. All the rest have retired.
They're still working on Ralf Schumacher there with his cut leg, so they're stretching him away. Obviously quite a nasty cut there for Ralf.
And Formula One being what it is, motor racing being what it is, I can imagine there are probably people on the phone already to Frank Williams saying if Ralf Schumacher can't take part in the next race, which is the Canadian Grand Prix in 2 weeks' time, and he's not looking too good there at the moment, I would be very happy to take his place. So fingers crossed too for Ralf Schumacher. Here is Michael Schumacher. He's in the swimming pool section, in past the diver statue, round the left-hander, keeps bearing left, brakes hard on for the Ras Kass, which is about a 30-mile-an-hour corner. The mechanics are ready, the Ferrari mechanics are ready. Are you there, James? James?
Yeah, I'm here, Murray, and there's some scrub tyres going on for Michael Schumacher, and 52 kilos of fuel. Should take about 8.5 seconds stationary time in total. They're not rushing. A great stop by Ferrari. They've got it all perfectly right today.
Yeah, Michael Schumacher exits the pit lane at that mandatory 60 kilometres an hour. He's got the new style pit lane speed limiter working, and David Coulthard has not come through as I predicted. There is David Coulthard coming round into the so-called start and finish straight, which is actually a curve, and he's still in second place, but Michael Schumacher has retained his lead from some 33 seconds to some 11 seconds. So he's lost about 22 seconds as a result of coming in, slowing, stationary for just 7.7 seconds as they put in the fuel. And he's got new tyres on now, and his concentration will not be affected. He can see a 5th Monaco Grand Prix victory in sight now, provided he just keeps going, because David Coulthard has still got to stop. He is 13, 14 seconds ahead of Frentzen, who's got Barrichello right behind him, and in the barrier there, I can't see whether it's Zonta or Villeneuve. It's Zonta. Ricardo Zonta has gone off at the same place as the others. It's obviously very slippery there. He's gone into the barrier on the left at Saint-Devote. There he is away from the car, passing the broken Minardi. Well, he was in 10th position, so there are only 12 runners left now.
Yeah, no, I understand it was a mechanical problem with the car. Gearbox, is that right?
Yes, it's right. We don't know if it's a mechanical or electronic problem, but it's a gearbox.
Such a disappointment for you.
Yeah, it's right for me and also for the team. I mean, the second position was pretty easy to keep because luckily my car was perfect. I didn't push very much because I was on one stop, very long first thing. So I was taking care of the tires and tried to keep away David. And as soon as David was closing the gap, I was pushing away, pulling away easily.
Bad lad.
Yeah, interesting there. He says he was on a very long first stint. Presumably that's Barrichello stop for Ferrari. Mechanics are getting ready for. So I'm sure that tells us something about Frentzen too, and that he is going to be on a long stint. But no, Frentzen coming in the pits. Jordan have either decided to do that or responded to the Ferrari mechanics coming out into the pit lane to make sure they can try and keep their man with track position.
Now, can Rubens Barrichello, as a result of help from the Ferrari mechanics, get his place ahead of...
Oh.
Yeah, no! Frentzen gets out ahead in the pit lane, ahead of Rubens Barrichello, so there is no change in terms of track position. The question is, has Fisichella has not gone through. Is that the Benetton? No, it's not. It was the Jaguar coming through, the Jaguar of Johnny Herbert. And Schumacher's in trouble. Schumacher's in trouble. Front wheel off the ground. Has he got a puncture? Michael, and it's happened at the very worst place that it could possibly happen, because he's only just past the pits. He's got to do a whole lap like this. Now, you remember what I said earlier on about carbon fibre stuff getting into the tyres? Maybe that's happened.
No, I don't think he's got a puncture. I think he's got a... Well, we'll have to wait and see, but I thought it looked more like a suspension failure than a puncture. I think he's got a suspension failure there, Murray. He's going to be out of the race with that one.
Yes, indeed he is, and in which case David Coulthard will take the lead, with Frentzen in second position and Barrichello in third. But first, we've got to see what happens in this really dramatic development to Michael Schumacher, who's on his 56th lap. I say it's happened at the very worst place, because even if it's a puncture, which is the least of his problems, he's still got to do a whole lap, probably with the back of his car dragging on the ground by the time he gets in. If it's a broken suspension, he will be out of the Monaco Grand Prix.
Well, I'm hearing from the pits they're getting a suspension arm ready to go on to Schumacher's car, but that's going to take some time.
Look at this.
Yeah, I mean, he held it well. I think he's got a left rear suspension failure. That puts the right front up in the air like that. I don't think he had a flat tyre, and I'm almost certain that Schumi's got a damaged rear suspension, so that's going to take them 3 or 4 minutes, I would have thought. And now they've chosen to make Coulthard stop at that point.
Lovely bit of quick thinking by the McLaren team. Will bring David in for his sole pit stop. He was 43 seconds ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen. so there's going to be no problem in terms of David Coulthard losing what looks like is going very shortly to be the lead of the Monaco Grand Prix, with Heinz-Harald Frentzen moving up into second position, and we're looking at the Jordan now. Where is Rubens Barrichello?
Here's Michael still trying to recover to the pits, look, and I'm pretty sure that something gone on the pull rod or the rear shock absorber mechanism on Michael Schumacher's car. So maybe he had a little thump of the barrier somewhere earlier on in the race, and that can so often catch you out later on. So Michael Schumacher, they're still limping back to the pits.
In fourth position, he's been passed by Coulthard, he's been passed by Frentzen, he's been passed by his teammate Rubens Barrichello. The glittering prospect of a fifth victory here at Monaco has escaped him. James.
You can never count on anything in Formula One racing. As he came in, the left rear wheel was bubbling. He's cut the engine, guys. So I think he thinks it's all over. This reminds me very much of 1998. You remember he clashed with Alexander Wurz at the Lowe's hairpin and threw away a certain 10 points and victory because he damaged his left rear suspension in that incident. Mechanics furiously working in the back, but the engine is cut out, and certainly any chance of any significant points are gone for Michael Schumacher.
Thank you, James. So let's assume that is the situation, and obviously the cameras and we will be keeping you in touch. But now on lap 57 with 21 to go, as the Ferrari mechanics wrestle frantically with that rear suspension problem, David Coulthard is in the lead, the man who won the British Grand Prix, the man who's had such a terrible season personally as a result of that appalling air crash, is in the lead at Monaco, 24 seconds ahead of Heinz-Harald Frentzen, and there is Frentzen pursued by Rubens Barrichello.
That's the Ferrari still in the pits. Michael Schumacher getting out of the car, I think, Murray. They're abandoning the race. The Ferrari is retiring from the race.
Well, bitter goal for Michael Schumacher after having driven such a brilliant Monaco. Firstly, to take pole position. Secondly, to retain the lead at the first corner on the third attempt at starting the race after two aborted starts. Is out of the Monaco Grand Prix. His 10 World Championship points possibility has disappeared. Mika Häkkinen, however, is out of the points at the present moment. David Coulthard is potentially on 10 World Championship points, and if he gets those, he would be within 12 points of Michael Schumacher. All is not lost. We're leaving Monaco, but we'll be back soon. David Coulthard, meantime, is on his 63rd lap, and he's maintaining the gap between himself and Heinz-Harald Frentzen. We're looking at Coulthard now at some 17 seconds. Yes, I apologise. That's Mika Häkkinen trying to close. Well, he is closing up on Mika Salo, and out of the race goes Jos Verstappen. Now that's the swimming pool section, and there's no crane there, I can tell you that. So somehow or other they've got to get that car off the racing line and across the track and push it back towards the Tabac.
Safety car on standby again. So safety car is on standby. Doesn't mean to say they're necessarily going to use it as earlier in the race. And well, we've seen two arrows in that wall in exactly the same situation today, haven't we? And he managed then to come to the inside rather than De La Rosa stuffed one there this morning. And
Mark Webber stuffed one there in the 3000 race.
Yes, it's the same colour scheme. You're absolutely right.
Now, Coulthard's last lap was 1 minute 21.8. Mika Häkkinen's last lap was 1 minute 23.7. So Coulthard is lapping nearly 2 seconds a lap faster than Mika Häkkinen, who's going to be faced with a dilemma very shortly. Can he get past Salo without holding his teammate up, or should he let Coulthard through?
Yeah, Coulthard doesn't need to be in the 1 minute 21s to win this race. Mid-22s, late 22s would be absolutely fine. But, I mean, that's just a few tenths off of the fastest lap of the race so far. So Coulthard on a mission. Louise, what can you tell us?
I'm standing by here with Michael Schumacher. Michael, any idea what caused that failure?
Yeah, we had an exhaust failure. One of the pipe broke and basically cooked the suspension.
It was such a crashing victory. It was on the cards.
Yeah, but you know, that's Formula One.
I know you were anxious to find out news about your brother Ralph. Any news on his injuries?
Yeah, apparently he has quite a deep cut into his leg, but nothing more than that. He has to have stitches, but no broken or no further problems. So quite lucky.
here is the race order on lap 71. As you look at Rubens Barrichello in third position, and now Frentzen, who is in second place, 16.8 seconds behind race leader David Coulthard, and 4 seconds ahead of fourth place Giancarlo Fisichella in the Benetton. Eddie Irvine, and there goes the Jordan, and Frentzen is now going to be passed by Rubens Barrichello, who will move up into second position.
Just a silly, careless mistake there, Murray. Frentzen just went in, cruised into the corner, ran fractionally wide and slapped the barrier. Surely he's broken the rear suspension and the drive shaft, I'd imagine. Look at this, it just picks up a little bit of dirt, and that's it. And quite a whack, actually. Barrier yielded a little bit, and that is Frentzen out of the race. What a silly, careless mistake.
So Salo and Hakkinen, with Hakkinen closing up now, but knowing that he mustn't be rash, because at least he's in the running for one World Championship point now, but he can only get it if he pressures Mika Salo to do something wrong. If he does something wrong himself, Mika Hakkinen that is, he will prejudice the chance of getting even one World Championship point, which could decide the World Championship in the end analysis. Last year, the winner, Mika Hakkinen, was only 2 points ahead of Eddie Irvine in the Ferrari at the end of 16 hard-fought races. Every point counts in Formula One.
And Hakkinen outbraking himself into the chicane, going straight across. Again, I don't think he'll get a penalty on that one. I wonder if he's got a similar problem to what he had earlier on. But is he picking up speed, or is Hakkinen cruising now?
I think he's slowed down there. Maybe he's got a brake problem, which was what caused him to overshoot the chicane. He's certainly visually going a lot slower there. But just listening to the engine. And he's got David Coulthard right up behind him now. There is the race leader, Coulthard, closing up on the sixth place man, Mika Hakkinen. They're both in the points. Now, Mika Hakkinen is 49 seconds ahead of Jacques Villeneuve. So if Hakkinen can just keep going, he's going to be in for one World Championship point. We're riding with Coulthard now, and you will see the other McLaren of Mika Hakkinen now as it drops down to the Mirabeau, the right-hander. There he goes from the Mirabeau down to the Grand Hotel hairpin. This is it coming up. David Coulthard, lap 76, 2 to go at the end of this one, leading by 20 seconds from Rubens Barrichello.
Curiously there was some kind of moisture on the camera lens of Coulthard's car, so I would imagine Hakkinen's car's pumping something out of the back.
And Ron Dennis stoically looking at the monitors in the McLaren pit lane area as we ride with David Coulthard coming up to his teammate Mika Hakkinen, looks in the mirrors, moves over, lets him through.
Oh, thanks, he didn't move over, he stayed on the racing line and made Coulthard go offline, so Hakkinen there doing the least he really had to do.
Well, he has refused to give in. I said earlier on that he's always pointed out that he's younger than Hakkinen. He's got a lot less race experience than Hakkinen. He's convinced he can be world champion, and he has driven an absolutely magnificent race.
Yes, I think those days now of comparing himself with Hakkinen in that sort of lower light, he has to get out of, really. He's now in a great position if he can get to the end of this lap in the World Championship. And he's certainly been very pumped up all weekend. He said, I was so disappointed when qualifying ended. I was just loving driving the car. It's given me a lot of confidence here all weekend. And he went into the race with supreme confidence, and it certainly paid off for him. Would have been nice to see him and Schumacher head-to-head earlier on in the race to see which of the two cars and drivers had the real pace. But Coulthard now just a few corners from home, Murray.
And yet again, the man who started in pole position is not going to win the race. It's beginning to look as though there is a bit of a jinx on getting pole position, the thing that they all strive for. That didn't worry David Coulthard, well, it did for a while, but it won't be worrying him now. Into the Rascasse for the 78th and last time, out of it, and the McLaren mechanics will lean out and applaud him home. There they are, and David Coulthard wins the Monaco Grand Prix magnificently. Rubens Barrichello is only 17 seconds behind him. There he is, coming into second position with Giancarlo Fisichella's Benetton in third place. And Eddie Irvine is almost home in the Jaguar. There he is. There is Eddie Irvine into the swimming pool complex for the last time. I won't say he could coast home now, but he couldn't, because he couldn't. But he is going to have the enormous privilege and satisfaction of giving Jaguar, as last year's second in the World Championship, Irvine, their first World Championship points. He finishes for 3 points for Eddie Irvine and Jaguar.
I hope Coulthard's car passes scrutineering at the end of the race. Remember, he got thrown out of the Brazilian Grand Prix after a second place there. 6 points he could well have used at the moment to keep Michael Schumacher under pressure, but nonetheless, he'll happily accept the 10 he's got today.
Well done, David. The man from Twynham has done it again. That is David's 8th World Championship win. He won for Williams, and he's now won time and time again for McLaren, and has moved up to second in the World Championship.
And so Coulthard joins the greats who've won at Monaco. Fangio, Moss, Graham Hill, Prost, Senna, Michael Schumacher, a very classy club that now opens its doors to David Coulthard.
Well done, David. First Briton to win at Monaco for 27 years, but this is no ordinary victory anyway, is it?
No, this is excellent. Obviously, I'm delighted to win here. This is the last of the big races for me that I would like to win. Of course, I'd like to win more, but in terms of history, then this is a good one. And it comes at a good point in the season. I felt strong all weekend, and it's good, especially after disappointment of what happened in Nürburgring.
I was lucky, I mean, but so it was Coulter, so it was Giancarlo, because no, it wasn't much of overtaking today. I mean, but I was there when I needed. I pushed really hard when they told me, I mean, you have to catch up, friends, and I did. And it was just impossible to overtake.
I was pushing very hard because I was always behind Barrichello. Just in the last 4 laps, when I said, so I am third, I think there is no possibility to overtake him, so slow down. When I said that, I was a bit tired there. But until the last 4 or 5 laps, I was very powerful.
We badly needed the points. We've had a difficult first part of the year. Really, it's a race of attrition here, but you've got to finish. And that's exactly what Eddie did. And we're really thrilled to be 4th place and catch up World Championship points is really what the team desperately needed.
I'd have thought you'd have had more a smile on your face. You just seem frustrated.
Because I see problems that are going to take us a lot longer to sort out. And, you know, it's you know, I see problems that are, you know, 6 months sorting. That's the thing. But, you know, we just got to keep working on these things. Hopefully we can fix them quicker, but just got to keep chipping away.
Monaco always has a habit of biting you if you're not well sorted for it, and it's a pity really, because the problems that Schumacher had and the way Jarno was driving, I thought, you know, just keep staying there and that was going to be it. We weren't going to beat Michael on pace, and very unfortunate what happened to Heinz, to hit the wall with only about 5-6 laps under not a lot of pressure. So maybe something broke, maybe not, I don't know. Maybe it was a driver error. That's not the point at the moment. The point is that we lost 6 lovely points.
And so Michael Schumacher's lead is now 12 points. David Coulthard, his nearest challenger, 5 clear of world champion Häkkinen. Barrichello moving up to 22. Fisichella scored 4 today, and he is 2 clear of Ralf Schumacher now. McLaren's Monaco haul of 11 points means they're only 5 behind Ferrari. Williams unchanged. Benetton improve. Sauber and Jaguar equal 7th on the back of Salo and Irvine's efforts. Right, let's have a word with Tony Jardine. What a great day for David Coulthard here in Monaco, Tony.
Superb. I really feel for him. I think he deserves all he gets here. He's changed his approach slightly. He's less analytical. And as we've said, you know, he hasn't done all that work in the gym. He's only just gone back into the gym. His ribs have only healed. He's come through all that air crash stuff. His 2nd win of the year. I thought he performed superbly.
What did you make of all that chaos at the start? The red flag being waved and then the pile-up at the hairpin?
Well, we now know that there was a computer malfunction anyway, so the red flag had come out with the starter, but here it was the car park up at the old Lowe's hairpins, now the Grand Hotel. That was the red flag already out. Look at the 2 arrows there as the lights were flashing on and off. It didn't matter what had gone on because poor Jenson Button had tipped Pedro de la Rosa around, causing that huge car park. But unfortunately, drivers had to run back. Cars were craned away, which were perfectly healthy. And of course, Jenson Button back under the microscope for this misdemeanor, if you like, which is very easily done. He's under huge pressure to perform here and in Canada. Juan Pablo Montoya could take his seat for next year. He didn't need that, and he's done a good job here. I'm sorry for him.
He didn't need that, and neither did the Schumachers here. A pretty miserable day for both of them. Ralf Schumacher, we hear he's got a nasty cut, a 3-inch gash on his calf, but he should be okay to return to Canada in a couple of weeks' time.
It's that big Monte Carlo Wheel of Fortune. Hakkinen came out of the pits there after his repairs, unsighted Ralf Schumacher, who went off on the dirt there at Saint-Devote. It's very, very dirty, and it's ended up a huge scrapyard. You can see there, under focus, is the gash, blood just coming from the side of his overalls. Suspension seemingly has punched its way through the carbon fibre tub and injured his leg and speared it through his leg. In a lot of pain there, poor Ralph, and being taken away for stitches. Now, Wheel of Fortune turning against the other Schumacher brother, all under control, heading for his 5th Monte Carlo Grand Prix. The exhaust has fried that rear suspension. The up and over exhaust, it must be the lower part of the exhaust, and the rear trailing edge of the suspension on the lower edge must have just fried, despite the fact that they put all this asbestos anti-heat resistant material around the suspension. Cruel, cruel blow for a brilliant driver. Mr. Monaco thwarted here.
Yeah, cruel as well here this weekend for Jordan, who had Trulli right up there on the front row at the start. Heinz-Harald Frentzen going very well too, and they've come away with nothing on the back of, what was it, a lapse in concentration for Frentzen, or just pure fatigue?
I wouldn't say it was fatigue, Jim, because he's such an accomplished driver and he knows his way so well around here. You see, he's back on the dirt at Saint-Devote where so many have gone off. He looks to have a good line, but he hits the inside curbing on there, loses all grip altogether. Once he gets to the outside, there's no grip whatsoever, and he was still going at quite a pace and struck the Armco very, very hard. He could have been blinded by sweat, but I think more than likely the track just got slippier in that part. He was just going a bit too quick for those conditions. Unfortunately, the wheel turning again.
See, one aspect of this race that I'm really interested in now is the battle within McLaren between the world champion Hakkinen and David Coulthard, who lapped the Finn here today.
I know, and that will do David Coulthard a power of good. I mean, in the past, observers have said that the bias is towards Mika Hakkinen, but here, David Coulthard, the man who's done so well, was towards the top of the timesheets all the time, should have been on the front row of the grid, drove exceptionally well. Mika Hakkinen, of course, he was blocked during practice. He had to start from 5th. He was lucky to salvage 5th place, but he couldn't overtake anybody. But that will have done him a power of good. 2 wins for David and just 12 points behind Schumacher now.
Just finally, Tony, we've had a beautiful vista up here all weekend. You're in a bit of a different setting next weekend, you've been telling me.
Oh yes, we're off to Anglesey racing at Ginetta on Saturday and Sunday, so it'll be back to grassroots and club racing.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
And here's your complete Monaco rundown. Coulthard winning at his 6th attempt. Barrichello second, same as 97. Fisichella's so good here. 4th year running, he's been in the points. Irvine gets Jaguar off the mark at last. Sarlo scoring a couple. Hakkinen 6th after a tough weekend. It did include, though, the fastest lap once again. Villeneuve 7th. Great effort after starting 17th. Heidfeld 8th, best of his season in the Prost. Same for Herbert in the second Jaguar, a couple of laps down. Frentzen, the last classified finisher, in 10th. Verstappen crashed out. Michael Schumacher failed to finish for the first time in 10 races. Zonta and Ralf Schumacher both went out at Saint-Devote. Trulli's gearbox failure cost him dear. Deniz also came off second best to the Saint-Devote barrier. Alesi's drive shaft failed. Mazzacane and Genet, they both went out about the same time. Wirtz crashed out after 18 laps. Engine failure, the official reason for Button's exit. And finally, De La Rosa didn't have another arrows to drive after crashing in morning warm-up. Next port of call, then we go to Canada, to Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time. A bit of a different time for qualifying, 11:45 on the Saturday night. The race, though, we are live on the Sunday from 5:15. Highlights at 11:35. Talking about highlights, winning here must be the top mark in David Coulthard's career. He'll celebrate this weekend and then concentrate on his ultimate goal, the world title itself. Good night.
It's hot, hot, hot. And Schumacher's in trouble. the Monaco Grand Prix.
F1 on ITV in association with Texaco.
If you would like to know more about Formula One, the website address